Welcome back. If President Trump wants the Republican Party to be known as the party of health care, well, that may just be fine to Democrats. After all, just 37% of Americans approve of President Trump's handling of health care, according to a recent Fox News poll. And 50% of Americans have a favorable view of the Affordable Care Act, compared to just 39% who have an unfavorable view, according to another recent poll. With me now is Senator Mazie Hirono, Democrat from Hawaii, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator, thank you very much for joining us. In talking about health care, how do you want to frame the argument? What is your message to the American voters for 2020 on the issue of health care?
When Donald Trump said that he was going to make sure that everyone gets health care, that amounts to big fat zeros. So the very same Attorney General who handed Trump a gift regarding the Mueller report and on the issue of obstruction of justice handed him what I would consider the seeds of Republican defeat in saying that they're going to challenge the entire Affordable Act's constitutionality. That means that millions and millions of people will lose their health care, won't be able to afford it, and obviously it's going to be hugely damaging to people who have pre-existing conditions, which, by the way, Katie, you are about to join the ranks of by having a baby.
Kellyanne Conway today was asked about Obamacare and asked about health care, and she said we're celebrating the 9th year of Obamacare, and 9 years later there are close to 30 million Americans with no health care coverage. What would you say in response to that?
That means that we should be expanding health care and not trying to eliminate health care for millions of people, which is exactly what Trump and his administration has been doing. And to think that just a few days ago, Trump is still carrying on against John McCain for casting the deciding vote to save the Affordable Care Act. So, when he starts talking about, and when they start talking about wanting to eliminate health care, they've had a large part in that because they have been sabotaging the Affordable Care Act at every turn. So not only are they trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act and tried many times, they sabotage the Affordable Care Act, and you now have an Attorney General who announced, even after many of us on the Judiciary Committee asked him to reconsider the department's position and instead of challenging the Affordable Care Act, defend the act like they usually do with regard to enactments by Congress. He turns around and goes in the opposite direction. Well, if I were Trump and the Republicans, I wouldn't be so happy because, as you said, health care matters to everybody regardless of whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. And is, I would say, one of the #1 issues that we all have been hearing about. And believe me, we're all going to do everything we can, we Democrats, to make sure that health care is a right, not a privilege.
Let me ask you this. If the Republicans come up with a plan to replace it, is there a scenario where you can see working with them in a good faith effort to replace Obamacare for something that adds coverage to 30 million people?
I don't know how they're going to come up with a plan that does that. In fact, earlier they did have a plan that was supposed to be their replacement for the Affordable Care Act, and it would cut back on the kind of coverages. And in fact, it would have decreased the number of people who are covered. So that is not where they want to go. They want the Affordable Care Act, which was a good faith effort. I worked on it, by the way, when I was a member of the House. It was an effort to get many, many more millions covered, which it did. And it protected people with pre-existing conditions, which had never been the case. So whatever they can come up with, hey, they have not succeeded yet, and they've gone the opposite direction.
Let's talk about the Mueller report. You want to see William Barr in front of the Judiciary Committee. What do you want to ask him?
Well, first of all, before we get Barr in front of the committee, we need to see the report because all we have is a 4-page summary of the report. So we need a basis in which to question Barr, and that basis would be the Mueller report. So he needs to make that available to Congress as well as American people.
So you're specifically going to ask for him after the report comes out, not before?
Well, we need a basis, I mean, how are we going to ask him probing questions if we don't even have the report? And when he testified, he did say that he would do everything he could to be as transparent as possible, and we want him to do that. Go ahead.
What about Mueller? What would you want to ask Mueller?
When we get the report, I'd like to particularly focus on those parts of Mueller's analysis on obstruction of justice. Because, Katie, we saw with our own eyes and heard with our own ears all the different ways that Trump tried to sideline and, in my view, obstruct this investigation from the get-go.
On the Green New Deal, there was a procedural motion today. Why did so many Democrats vote present on it instead of voting yes for it?
Because this was just a sham so-called debate by Mitch McConnell. He wanted to divide the Democrats. And the bottom line is that the Green New Deal is an aspirational document that says we recognize the science behind climate change, unlike Trump and the Republicans and all of the climate deniers who want to stick their heads in the sand and make believe that climate change is not happening. And all of the growing number of natural disasters that are taking people's lives and costing our cities, our businesses, our people billions of dollars, which, by the way, even as we speak, we are going to be dealing with the disaster relief package because of all of these many disasters, natural disasters that are hitting us more frequently and with greater impact.
But isn't that an argument that you just made to vote yes for it? I mean, McConnell may be trying to make it a show vote, but if you signed on to this, you're one of the co-authors of it.
Yes.
If you believe that this is something that, even if it's aspirational, that needs to get done, why not take a stand and vote yes for it? And here's what the Democrats stand for. We don't care that it's a show vote from Leader McConnell. It seems like you're trying to have it both ways, not be hung by it politically, but also not say that you don't support it.
I disagree with you, Katie, that why should we engage in the kind of sham shenanigans that Mitch McConnell is really good at? And so he's going to keep doing this kind of thing, that his goal in life is to try and divide the Democrats. He's said that. Meantime, he's just shoving as many of the totally ideologically driven judges through court packing that he can. He's already said that, too. So, you know what? If we can engage in an adult, responsible debate on climate change, we will do that. We will have that debate. I will welcome that debate, but that is not what's happening. I am not going to be a fool to Mitch McConnell's shenanigans. Why should any of us? The people of our country should have a real debate. And in fact, Katie, I was on the floor today talking about climate change and the need to recognize the science, and let's not keep sticking our head in the sand. And I referred to an 11-year-old girl from Hawaii who participated in a climate change rally that we had in Hawaii. And she said, you know, to the young people, she sees what's happening through climate change. She wants the adults, that would be us, presumably in the Senate, to step up and do the right thing. And literally, she said, save the planet for us. This is an 11-year-old girl. See, the young people in our country get it. The people who don't get it are the climate deniers who are so tied to the fossil fuel industry that they can't see the forest for the trees. And we're going to regret it. We're going to regret this. And there are those of us who are going to stand up for a real debate. I welcome that.
Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii, thank you very much.
Sure.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.